Weirdly enough, Vampire Coast is one of the factions that doesn't have that great of access to magic damage. They do, of course, have ghosts of their own. Today, though, the Emperor is risking it for the biscuit. Half Stonebeard, the Ethereal Thane, coming to rumble against the zombie pirates. He's also got Belegar to back him up, of course. On the banner of Clan Angren, we've got Quarrelers mixed in here, 2 Bolt Throwers, plus the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, and then a big flank of Bugman's Rangers with Miners in Vanguard up front. Ghost did bring plenty of ghosts. They've got 5 Sirens up front. They do, of course, have magic damage, but generally their low stats means that the Thane should trade pretty well against them in direct melee. We'll see. They do also have Luther Harkon up in the air on his Goose and Guns, fleet captain of Vampires, and 3 deck gunners, including the Shade Race, who, again, deal magic damage, and pretty good single target magic damage at that. The Thane will definitely have to be careful not to be sniped by the Shade Wraith guns, but right now the assault is on. Unfortunately, the Miners didn't get their blasting charges off. They would have done okay damage to the Sirens, but right now the Sirens are able to come through, just immediately start terrifying away these Miners. Of course, Harkon giving a big punch over on the Vampires left. While Bugman's Rangers coming up to make their presence felt, they can get in range to start to mow down those Shade Wraith gunners. Looks like, in fact, they're going to shoot the deck gunners behind them, which are just the squishy, non-ethereal deck gunners. Should be pretty good, but here comes Halkenhaf and Belegar. Yes. Trundling up the hill as the ghosts come swooping down. And the Dwarf Warriors, man, the banner of Clan Angren looks so good. That, like, really deep blue has to be one of my favorite color schemes for the Dwarfs. And Halkenhaf, of course, he does magic damage, as do all ethereal units. 40 and 65 melee defense, more importantly, does mean that only 23 melee attack. Those Sirens are basically going to be at minimum hit chance, more or less, so he's very unlikely to take a lot of damage unless they get like Dance Macabre, which there is no Dance Macabre from the Vampire captain there. Also, the Bugman's Rangers using their excellent AP values to just dish a ton of damage to Luther Harkon. That is very cost effective, considering how relatively cheap they are and how expensive he is. But definitely getting pushed back. The Sirens coming for a little melee brawl now to support Luther. They're able to rout off one Bugman's, the other still holding fairly firm. That regeneration does mean that with 28 unit models still online, they're very likely to come back and continue to fight. Quarrelers also making their way forward now. It's kind of a giant shootout. One Siren did come through to try and get at the Dwarven artillery. Halkenhaf and Belegar are going to respond to them and go over there and try and do something about it. But Quarrelers, Bugman's, meanwhile, continuing to shoot. Harkon has taken a lot of damage, and he can get double regeneration. Obviously, the Goose plus Hunger means that he can get quite a bit of passive healing per second. I think it's 8 hit points per second if you combine the 2 of them, but he does need to be in melee. Active healing of Invocation of the Heck definitely will help as well. Miners come to toss blasting charges at those handguns. Not really sure. The handguns are going to have a little bit of a tough time on this map. You can see that the line of sight situation is pretty awful, to be honest. So I might have just brought like pure more melee units only instead of the handguns, but yeah. There you go, life of a zombie. They are going to shoot back at the Miners and be able to do a little bit of damage there. Crossbows, mass crossbows of the Dwarfs is definitely a problem here. Halkenhaf helping to push back the Sirens. Let's come check in with him. A little bit of blasting charges from those Miners as well. But yeah, I mean, even with the Charmed, right, they have 32 melee defense. Halkenhaf 40 melee attack. So, I mean, I guess he's pretty close to base hit chance with the minus 10 melee attack of Charmed. Even a little bit below base hit chance against their 32 melee defense. He'll have 30 melee attack, right? But it's still good enough. And with the 375 weapon strength, that very low HP, you can see how he just one-shots multiple models on each melee attack. 3 models. So, guessing he probably has 3 splash attack targets, and they absolutely have less than 100 HP per model. There's no question there. Going to be a very bad situation for the Sirens. Now, the question is, what can you do about this if you're in the Vampire Coast situation? Well, number one is focus the Shade Wraith Gunners. They're not in a position to do so at the time being, but he's managing to keep them fairly well protected. He's pushed back this Bugman's Rangers flank here. Got Luther Harkon healed back up and relatively healthy, so that's one way of doing it. He doesn't have the right spells here, but Spirit Leech or Spiteful Shot are both available to Vampire Coast that can help deal with, at least Spirit Leech can help deal with single target ghosts, right? And Spiteful Shot will give magic damage on both melee and ranged attacks, so you can use it even on like a powerful melee unit, for example. If Harkon were to dive on Halkenhop, you could use Spiteful Shot to make him deal magic damage in melee and just be able to finish him off very quickly. So a couple of things to think about. It's not super likely, but if you do see a Dwarven player on Warhammer 2 going to the banner of Clan Angrand, or I think, if I remember right, Thorax faction, I think can take an even better Ethereal Thane. But either of those, if you see those banners, just make sure you have insurance to deal with ghosty boys. Let's see here, though. Taking a nice wide look. A lot of the Dwarfs have been routed off. They've definitely taken huge damage across their entire army. Characters are both still quite healthy, and as long as the Dwarven army can deal enough damage to Luther and, you know, tie up and use enough ammo of these deck gunners in order to protect the characters, these guys will be able to kill everything else. They'll be able to kill all the Sirens in melee, no problem. Ooh, they're coming to administer a beatdown now on the fleet captain, maybe. Oh no, Captain, my Captain! This is gonna be bad. Captain's like the same color as the ground, so it's a little bit hard to see, but there you go. Nice double attack there. And very quickly, the Captain's gonna run out of HP. She doesn't have any armor, very low HP overall. So a quick 2v1 there, and in less than a minute, she is, less than 30 seconds probably, to be honest, she is gone. Now the Shade Wraiths getting some blasting charges. Again, big mistake here. At this point, the Shade Wraiths do have line of sight, and they do have, I mean, maybe they don't have line of sight, actually, just barely, but it's close enough. As soon as this Halkenhaf comes within range, they need to be focusing him ASAP. Just because, I mean, the Sirens are not going to do it in melee. Harkon might be able to, but definitely not 2v1 with Belagar mixed in as well. The Wars of Dragonfire Pass eating Shade Wraith shots. And basically at this point, for the Emperor, if the Shade Wraiths are shooting literally anything except Halkenhaf, it's good for him. So, yeah, a little bit of a tactical error there, but at the same time, the line of sight situation does make it a little bit tough to hit a single target like this. Flash of Ghosts. The lighter, what is this? I don't even know what to call it. It's like almost a green, like a light green of the ancestral dwarfs versus the, I don't even, sickly blue of the Sirens. Actually, about the same color as the Shade Wraith Gunners, which is interesting. And again, they're still not focusing him, instead focusing on the Bugman's Rangers. I mean, I guess from a, win condition perspective, the most threatening thing to Harkon, I guess, is all the Bugmans, but you're not going to be able to clear out all of them. I mean, the leadership debuff does help. Then the terror kicks in from the Sirens that are close by, gets rid of those two units, but again, a little bit overcommitting on damage. Needed to switch targets a little bit faster. I know it seems like I'm harping on this Vampire Coast player quite substantially, but it's just, he does have the tools he needs to actually win this here. Just a tactical error and not using them correctly. Maybe he doesn't even realize it would be enough, but I mean, at this point, the deckhands are too slow to get away, even as exhausted as Halkenhaf is. These guys are also exhausted, or at the very least drained. They're not going to be able to get away, and oh yeah. Final ghost battle. 4 Shade Wraith guns, just all sad. Died twice. Now about to die a third time. Do an angry dwarf ghost. Belagar coming through, not to be outdone. Of course, dwarfs also have some units with magic damage. You've got the Peak Gate Guards. You've got Thorek, Ironbrow, I believe, does magic damage. Gotrek. Bromriddle does magic damage also, right? Which will make him very good at fighting demons in Game 3. Anyway. Dwarfs, sometimes you see mass Sirens or Cairn Wraiths against Dwarfs, and it's pretty decent, don't get me wrong. But there are things you can do to resist, and Angry Dwarf Ghost is probably one of the more underrated ways of beating back enemy ghosts. Yes, indeed. Got some nice Dwarf gameplay. Dwarfs are definitely going to struggle in Domination. I mean, just by faction design, we see clearly already that Cathay struggles, but Dwarfs actually have a lot of tools that Cathay doesn't. Mainly, a lot of Vanguard tools. Vanguard infantry, of course, but, you know, Bugmans are going to be quite strong. The fact that they have charge defense, regeneration, decent combat stats, stock, Vanguard, and a ranged attack makes them pretty much like the perfect unit for Domination. Like, you literally couldn't ask for a better infantry unit. They're also pretty reasonably priced, too, which is nice. So, like that. Miners will obviously be very good for a quick blasting charge onto a location. But Dwarfs, you know, will be tricky if your opponent's kind of guarding you on your spawn. It could potentially be problematic, but we'll see. All just theory crafting at this point. And somehow these zombie handguns have stayed alive until this point. Dwarf's gonna forsake them. Allow them to just crumble away. Will take some time. We'll also take some time to try and mop up what's left of this Vampire Coast army. You can see Harkons lingering in the air. Trying to use his breath attacks. The breath attacks really of the Goose, though, are more anti-large. They're not going to do a lot to these dwarf characters. Does it actually deal magic damage? Let's see if I can check. If I can get Harkon's card to stay up here. It does deal magic damage, so actually the Death Shriek, again, another tool that could have been used to try and deal with Halkenhalf, but instead being mistargeted there. I guess a lot of people probably don't know. I even had to check myself, right? If the Goose's attack actually did magic damage. But that being the case, could have helped out a little bit here. But now, like I said, 2v1 with the Sirens evaporating. This is not going to go well for Luther. In general, single entity combats, 2v1 almost always wins, regardless of quality. There are a handful of shots being thrown over here by 5 zombie guns that are still alive, but not going to be enough. Harkon pulling around for one more cycle charge while the last 2 Sirens go down. But it won't be long. The double dwarf hero. But what are you guys doing? Oh, he just fell over. That's why. It's like, why are you not doing attacks? It's because he's literally in the act of dying. Anyway, fun stuff. Both of the heroes here do pretty good damage. Belagar just in general, great tank lord, great value lord considering how cheap he is. Great value there. Halkenhalf also pretty good value on him, just helping to beat down the ghosts and tactically, you know, providing that little bit of extra magic damage. Even though all the Sirens did get pretty good value, handguns were pretty well limited, and none of the deck guns. I mean, I guess a couple of them did okay, but really the shade rates could have done a lot more work. Could have been a very dangerous situation, but instead, the Vampire Coast player just not really realizing what he had there. The Corlers also very cost effective. Man, like 1100, 1200 on Corlers. It's just fantastic. Miners with blasting charges kind of get crumped here a little bit, but that's okay. And that's it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.